Hey everyone, it's Todd, the Cybertruck truck guy, and today we're going to be looking at, I think, a pretty significant addition to the world of trucks when it comes to electrification and comparing that to the Cybertruck. That is the new F-150 Hybrid. Now, let me be honest with this. The F-150 Hybrid is barely a hybrid. It has like a 1 kilowatt hour battery, but there's some aspects of the Ford that make it very compelling in terms of legacy beginning to compete with electric pickup trucks. So in today's video, I'm going to run through a few of the highlights of the F-150 Hybrid, and then I'm going to do one of my classic comparisons where I take a look at the cost of the hybrid relative to the Cybertruck and why I think the Cybertruck is going to continue to retain the lead when it comes to cost to benefit ratio. But this vehicle is significant. And I think what is a little weird is that with all the emphasis on the all-electric pickup trucks coming from Rivian and now the controversy around Lordstown Motors, I think that this is a real sleeper. Like the F-150 Hybrid is pretty cool once I got into it. Let's talk about what this really is. What Ford did is they basically took a 1 or 2 kilowatt hour battery and they integrated it with their 3.5 liter EcoBoost engine, twin turbo EcoBoost engine, and a small, like 50 horse electric motor. But what this gave them is some significant advantages. First, it gives them the ability to do regenerative braking. So they can actually begin to capture some of the regenerative braking and incorporate that back into their miles per gallon. The second thing that it lets them do is they basically have a system that synchronizes the power that's being generated from the V6 engine with that motor, and it gives them some really impressive torque and horsepower numbers for a half-ton pickup truck. Better than just about anything in its class. It kind of is now on par with the Raptor in terms of horsepower, but that instant torque that the electric motor gives it actually gives it a higher torque number. In this particular article, and I'm not going to go through and read it, but where they reviewed it, they basically indicate that the F-150, it has a 0 to 60 speed of around 5.3 seconds, which is right around the range of the Raptor. The Raptor supposedly has a 5.1 second 0 to 60 time, and this has about a 5.3 second according to Motor Trend. That's really impressive. And then in terms of it, the electric generation capacity now gives them the ability to use the engine as a generator and then put a outlet in the back of the F-150. Similar to what we saw with the Cybertruck, where we have those power outlets in the back of the Cybertruck, Ford has incorporated that now into their new F-Series pickup truck. Now, when this first came out, the reason I didn't do a video on this sooner is somehow I got it in my mind that the hybrid was only going to be available for the platinum level or the limited level. But that's not actually the case. I was doing some messing around with the Ford configurator, which I'll show here in a second. And I noticed that when I was looking at the base Ford, the hybrid motor was an option. And I thought, wow, that's totally different than what I thought. And it made me want to go through and do a comparison like I've done in the past when I've just looked at the Cybertruck versus conventional pickup trucks. Let's take a look at that real quick. Essentially what I've done is I've taken 3 different trim levels from Ford, and these are, I would call them kind of the most popular trim levels. The XL is the super basic version. The XLT is the middle of the road version, and the Lariat is kind of entry level luxury. And then there are several sort of luxury trim levels, but those get ever narrower number of people who get them. So especially on the consumer side, these are the most popular. XLs are really popular for fleets. You don't see a ton of people buying them personally. So, but I put it in here because I think it's useful as a framework. So then what I did is I went through and I upgraded them differently, getting them ever closer to where I think the Cybertruck actually is. You can see here that a really super basic XL, add four-wheel drive, because again, I'm going to compare this to the Cybertruck dual motor. So why am I comparing these to Cybertruck dual motor? Well, according to both the reservation tracker and the feedback that we heard from Elon via Twitter right after the Cybertruck was revealed, is that about 90% of the orders were Cybertruck dual motor or tri-motor. And again, that would be kind of why I say people are going to tend to be in this area when they're talking about personal vehicles. So I'm going with the least expensive, the dual motor here, by way of comparing what the hybrid can do and what the trim levels will be relative to the dual motor for that reason. And the big reason is most people, when they get a truck, they want four-wheel drive. You add four-wheel drive, it basically adds the same for the three different trim levels. Now, I put an estimate for incentives here. I did go out and I looked at the Ford sites, some of the other ones, but usually the incentives are somewhere around sort of 10% of the purchase price. So in order to get the hybrid in the XL, you have to have the high package. And the high package, I don't know why you have to have this, but the high package basically just adds cruise control. This is the cost pretty much across the board to upgrade to the 3.5 liter V6 hybrid is the $750. And then if you want to add the outlets to the bed, you can add 2.2 kilowatt power, which I think is like conventional household outlets, for like $200 or $300, or you can get the 7.2 kilowatt hour, which I believe includes the 220 outlets that allows you to run large appliances, construction equipment. And so again, since that's what the Cybertruck has, that's what I'm using. So basically, if you take that and you look at that, you have a purchase price essentially of $44,000 for this basic level hybrid truck that does get you. So let's look at the specs here before we look at the other two. Most of these I didn't change because when I just kind of spot looked at them, like the clearance and the bed size, they're all basically the same as far as like storage capacity, approach angle, departure angle, with all that other stuff. So I didn't actually research all of this stuff. I did look at clearance. That's unchanged. So it's 9.4 across all of the options versus the 16 inches on the Cybertruck. But look at the range. So this is really interesting. When you compare to the Cybertruck's 300, this one has a range of 734 miles. And that's partly because they switched in their basic regular trucks. It's a 23 or 26 gallon tank. But on the hybrid, it comes with this 30.6 gallon tank, which I think is kind of interesting. So the other thing is that the MPG on these is 24 miles per gallon. And that's where you're seeing the impact of that regenerative braking. And that essentially gives you functionally another couple miles per gallon over the EcoBoost engine, because now you're recapturing some of that. Now what's interesting is where the EcoBoost is like 19, 27, 24 or 22. Yeah, it might be 24. The hybrid is 24, 24, 24. So it's the same in city or highway drive, but again, 24, that's pretty dang good for a pickup truck. And when you mate that with the 30 gallon tank, you get 734 miles. Now, I'm pretty sure the reason they added that is so that you can really use this as a generator, because I think a lot of the people that are going to get this are going to substitute running their worksite generators from their pickup truck, which is why the Cybertruck has such advantages. So this is the one category where you really see a big difference is range with this hybrid truck. Something to think about. So towing, their towing has increased a little bit. The last time I did this was like 10.7. It's now 11,000. So that's slightly better than the Cybertruck dual motor, but payload is substantially lower. On the prior one, it was like 2,300. On the hybrid, the highest you can get is 2120. And obviously, the Cybertruck lets you go up to 3,500. The Cybertruck really shines in this category. This is where you really start seeing a big difference from the old one. 430 horsepower. The prior F-150 I did was 370. And the prior foot-pounds of torque, instead of 470, is now 570. So this is substantial. Oh, this should be at 6,000 RPM. So the RPM is a little different now with the hybrid. 0 to 60, 4.5 versus 5.3. And again, I'm pretty skeptical of this 4.5. I actually think it's going to be, if it really can beat a Porsche in a drag race like they showed on the reveal video, then we're really probably looking at something like 4.1 or 4.2. But it's still significantly faster. Or at least accelerates much faster than the hybrid. I didn't see a top speed on that, but and then miles per gallon, again, we're estimating MPG equivalent is going to be somewhere around 50 miles per gallon. We don't have these actual numbers yet. Over here, like I said, it's basically 24 miles per gallon. This is where I would say the XLT is probably getting closer. In my opinion, the Cybertruck trim level, if it matches the trim level in terms of like heated powered seats and some of those aspects, dual climate control, automatic climate control, all that stuff, which I expect it to, then the correct trim level, I believe, to match the Cybertruck up to it with Ford is the Lariat level. But I show the XLT here because this is probably the most popular trim level of Ford's, is the XLT trim. We add the four-wheel drive. We add the luxury package because that gives you powered front seats and it gives you heated seats. It gets you a little closer, although they're cloth, and it gets you some basic driver assistance, advanced driver assistance. That's $5,730 to do that. Then you add the hybrid, you add the outlets. Then you start adding some of the advanced driver assistance. If you do that, it's an extra $750. Now, 360 view. I can't remember if that's out yet or that's someone's just seen that in the code, but we do know that the new autopilot software is going to be generating 360-degree images. It's going to be making 3D composites. So there's really no reason why they couldn't have a 360 view camera. Their FX4 off-road package doesn't get you anywhere close to the off-road capability that the Cybertruck will have in terms of ground clearance, in terms of tire size, and in terms of the adaptive air suspension. The total of those would add, to get a custom suspension that will do all that and upgrade to 35-inch tires, you're probably looking at around $8,000. But I just stuck with the FX4 off-road package and called it good. You cannot get the max trailer tow package with the hybrid. I think that has to do with the weight. Oh yeah, I didn't cover that. The weight of this, so this was the weight when I compared it against the 3.5 liter gas F-150 last, 6 months ago. This is the weight of the hybrid. It's substantially heavier even than the diesel. It's almost 500 pounds heavier. And that doesn't factor in the fact that if you fill up that 30-gallon fuel tank instead of the 26-gallon fuel tank, there's some extra weight there. Go back, we add in their tow technology, which is like backup assist, docking assist, that kind of stuff. Again, I believe that's going to be standard in the Cybertruck. A bed liner, because those aluminum and steel beds get scratched and damaged, unlike having a stainless steel bed. I'm going to give you the crappy tonneau cover here. That's just the folding 3-part hard tonneau cover. The soft tonneau covers I hate. So we're not even going to compare them to the Cybertruck. And you now have a purchase price of $55,107. Not going to go through all the Lariat stuff, but the big difference between XLT and Lariat is essentially leather. You're getting leather seats. So I think that's why I'm saying artificial leather seats, the faux leather seats that the Cybertrucks come with, are comparable in terms of this to the Lariat, and that's honestly the big difference. There's some extra buttons and there's some extra technology features, but mostly that's it. That's why I would compare it to the Cybertruck. I'm going to have them have the retractable tonneau cover. I'm going to give them the stowable ramps, even though actually you can't get the stowable ramps and use their tonneau covers together. They like, because the stowable ramps stick up too high, unlike the Cybertruck's integrated ramp system. And I'm going to go ahead and say we spring for an onboard air compressor. So what are you looking at? Well, you're looking at an initial acquisition price of $44,000 for the XL, the basic, $55,000 for the middle one. For the one that I think is actually comparable to Cybertruck, $61,000. Hey, we're at parity, guys. It's only $5,000 more to get the Cybertruck than the cheapest, most stripped down hybrid Ford you can get. Again, this is why I think the Cybertruck is going to become the #1 selling pickup truck in the United States. I genuinely believe that. Maybe it's only #2. Maybe it only gets, but I think it's going to be way more than their budget of 250,000 units a year. I think the demand is going to go through the roof once people start to actually drive these and see them and compare them to conventional pickup trucks. And now we're not even, so we're saying it's $5,000 to $12,000 cheaper than the most comparable trucks. And then let's look at when you incorporate in fuel cost. So I'm not going to incorporate in, and I've said this before in my other comparison videos, I'm not incorporating the fact that you have lower maintenance costs, and I'm not incorporating the fact that you're going to probably need to trade. These vehicles will be pretty much like most people trade out of them at between 90 and 150,000 miles. They just don't run that long because the complicated powertrains that drive them. You've added moving parts to the old number of moving parts. There's now more moving parts that are in there with the addition of the motor and the synchronization components between the motor and the transmission. You're not going to be running these for 500,000 miles or 250,000 miles, most probably. I'm not factoring in the fact that after 7 to 10 years, you're going to have to get a new one versus the Cybertruck. Keep on trucking. So this is just fuel, $2.25 per gallon and getting 24 miles per gallon. Your cost per mile, running $15,000 a year times 7 years. So your total fuel cost over 7 years, this is the average. This is what nationally people average, is 15,000 miles per year. So when you factor in the cost, the initial acquisition cost plus the fuel, you don't factor in increased maintenance, you don't factor in the fact that you're going to have to replace these after 7 to 10 years versus Cybertrucks, which theoretically are 30 to 40 year vehicles. You're looking at a 7-year difference. You save $1,772 with the Cybertruck, and you're saving $13,800 with the Lariat. So even though I think the hybrid, I really want to test drive one of them. And I think they're going to be really good trucks. In fact, of all the competition the Cybertruck's going to have, initially, this is the competition it's going to have because it has the onboard power system. It has better mileage. It has longer range. So it gives you some of those things that the Cybertruck gives you. And it's available. Like, you can buy it. It's not like all these other trucks, including the Cybertruck, that aren't available yet. Or maybe the Rivian starts getting produced at scale by the end of this year, but it's $75,000. And if you get the bigger battery, the 400-mile battery, it's another $10,000. I think, practically speaking, the competition for the Cybertruck, it's right here. This is the Cybertruck's competition. And again, in my mind, no competition. The Cybertruck is going to blow it away performance. It's going to blow it away in price, cost of ownership, longevity. It's resilience as far as dents and dings. It's not even a comparison. But on range, this has the edge. And because it now has that power bank in the bed, I think it's going to be compelling for people to go, hey, it's better mileage. I have more range. It's going to be more flexible for towing. It's It doesn't look like it came from an alien. To me, this is where this is a Cybertruck's competition, and I think this is for an extra $3,500 to have a hybrid truck that gets you 24 miles a gallon and torque and acceleration to match a Raptor. That's pretty compelling. That's it for now. We'll catch you next time. Bye.